Hi guys, and welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you from the UK. Today is Sunday, it is the 7th of March 2021, and I'm so happy that you're joining me today to talk about some knitting. If you're watching for the very first time, then welcome. I really hope that you will enjoy this podcast, and if you are coming back, thank you so much for being a regular viewer of the podcast. So today I just wanted to very quickly show you a little bit of what I've been working on. My baby is currently with dad, which is good because I think I had a good routine for a while where I could record while he was around. But now he just turned 6 months and he is crawling everywhere. Like proper full-on forward crawling, and he's just all over the place, and we basically have to watch him every second of the day. Which is also why last week I just couldn't record. It was just a very exhausting time, to be honest. But yeah, I think recording with him might be difficult in the future, especially considering that I don't want him to actually be in the videos. So that's what we're doing for now, and we'll see how that goes. But before we get into the Prepper podcast, I will just very, very quickly introduce myself for those who are new viewers. So, like I said, my name is Julia. I live here in the UK. We've been here for about 4.5, almost 5 months now. Oh my god, it's been almost 5 months in the UK. So we moved from Germany, which is where I'm from and where I started podcasting and all of that. Partly because we just wanted to live somewhere else. And yes, we made that decision before COVID hit. And partly because Kai got a job here. Kai is my husband. And we also, like I said, have a 6-month-old baby who is adorable and keeping me very, very, very busy. But he's just the cutest. So yeah, sorry, I might be biased there. So I'm staying at home with him at the moment, and I've been knitting for, let's see, I think I started really properly knitting in 2013. I learned as a child, as many of us here in Germany or back in Germany do. And at the time I was on a holiday in Thailand, and I was like, okay, when I get home, I want to knit socks. And so I came home from Thailand. I know, very weird sort of process of thinking. But I asked my grandma to teach me how to knit socks, and here we are many years later. I'm still knitting. I'm also spinning now. I love spinning. Sometimes crocheting, and I'm also designing knitting patterns on both Ravelry and PAYHIP. So if you're interested, I will link everything that I talk about down right below the video. And not all of my patterns are on PAYHIP yet, but if I see that people are more interested in that, I will definitely try to offer all of them there. But my latest couple of sock patterns are definitely to be found on both platforms. Talking about that leads us very, very nicely into our current knit along, which is the Happy Socks Cal, Happy Socks Kal. So the idea is to knit any of my sock patterns that I've published either recently or one of my older ones until the end of April, and we are running it on Instagram, so you can use hashtag HappySocksCal. And if you're not on Instagram, please feel free to let us know in the comments on YouTube how you are going. I would love to just have everyone participate and join in. So it is not about finishing anything, it's just about having some fun and seeing different versions of my sock patterns. I was going to also do a Ravelry thing, but I've decided not to because, once again, Ravelry is not accessible and I don't agree with what they're doing really. So I'm just not going to be doing any sort of activity that is related to the podcast on there. I know some of you don't use Instagram, and I'm sorry, I don't want to exclude you, but that is the decision that I've made, and I haven't made it very lightly. Anyways, let's stop talking about all this random nonsense and let's get into some actual knitting. But I have to have some coffee first because, coffee. If you don't know, I am very, very much addicted to coffee. And look, I am drinking out of my UK mug, which is now very, very fitting. I will say that today is sort of a weird weather day. So the sun keeps coming out and then disappearing again, which may result in weird lighting, but I'm doing the best that I can, and I have time right now, so I'm just going to keep going and show you what I've been working on. Alright, so I have finished 2 things recently. The first one I debated whether I should even bring it to show you again, but this is the baby hat that I was working last time that I talked to you. I don't know what our neighbors are doing, but it's very loud. I hope it doesn't appear too loud on the podcast. Anyways, so I had some skeins of Brooklyn tweed Peary, and I decided to turn them into matching hats, or fraternal hats, I guess, for my son and myself. So I had knit a plain ribbed hat for myself, and then for him I made up this little ear flap hat. So I just made up the ear flaps. There's no instructions for it, and I'm just not really planning on making a pattern because it is very, very simple. But yeah, he's been wearing it, and it's working really well. The ribbing means that it does actually stay on his head relatively well, even if I don't tie these ties. And yeah, the ear flaps, the placement and everything seems to have worked out pretty well, so I'm very happy about that. He's been wearing it a ton. Of course, now the weather is getting warmer, so I'm actually, I think, not sure how much longer he will need a thick hat like that, because I did hold this yarn double, so it's like DK to worsted. But it is done, it is cute, and that's the main thing. I also, very, very excitingly, I finished these socks yesterday. So you may remember I've been working on these for a while. You can see this Christmassy stitch marker down here is where I was last time I showed these to you, but I think I didn't show them on my last podcast. So it's been, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 weeks. And I finished these very, very long socks. The yarn that I used for these is a yarn called Unique Socks by Earth Yarns. And it comes in these beautiful little cakes that are pre-wound and you can just start knitting. So I knit these 2 at a time, toe up, because I wanted to use all of the yarn. If I'm being honest, I maybe did only use, I think I had like 5 grams something left, because at some point I was just done. But I used most of the yarn, honestly, and knit these very long socks. So because they're going up quite high on my legs, I also did 2 sets of double increases on the back, which you can't really see, but I just kind of winged it. I've never knit such long socks before, but they fit really well. Honestly, while I was working on these, like, they just seemed so long. I thought they're beautiful, but I will never wear them. But then I tried them on yesterday before winding off, and I actually really like them. I think they'll be really warm and cozy, and I'm very, very happy about them. Oh, I should mention, this is colorway number 59. And as per usual, you can check out my project pages, which I do link below, if you're interested in any sort of details on my projects. Again, I would like to find a better place to have my projects, but I just haven't really found a way yet. And with a tiny baby at home, I barely find time to even podcast, so yeah, I'm not really going anywhere with that. But yeah, these socks were so much fun. I really love this sort of self-patterning yarn. It is not the most affordable yarn, I will be honest, but for me it was worth the splurge. It's a really nice sort of squishy yarn, a tiny bit splitty when you knit with it, but the finished result, I really, really, really like it. So there we are, and those are my finished objects for this week. I'm really sorry about the noise outside. We have new neighbors. They're lovely, and I think they're just discovering and doing something in their backyard, and it's right there. So yeah, I have no idea what's going on, but I'm just going to persevere. So what have I been working on? I'm very proud to say that I only have 2 works in progress right now, which is very exciting. I mean, okay, I have 2 active works in progress, but everything else we can just ignore for a little bit, and honestly it's mostly blankets and a crochet toy, so I think I'm good. Anyways, if you've been watching for a while, you know that I'm working on the sweater beast called the Vanna sweater by Kit Couture. So it's a Danish company that does these kits, and I am so happy. One day I won't have to explain all of this every week, because I've been working on this since Christmas. I got this kit, I asked for it for Christmas from my husband Kai, and I started it on Christmas Day, and I've been working on it ever since because it is an all over crazy colorwork sweater on a ridiculous, I think 29 stitch gauge, 31 stitch gauge, something tiny. So I'm essentially knitting it with sock needles. And you know, I've been working with this black and yellow for a very long time, and the one big question I think we all had was, if I show this to you again, will I still be on the yellow or will I be on the white? And you guys, look, can you see that? I have made it to the black and white color work, and I'm so excited not to be working with yellow anymore. And also, more importantly, can you see how much this thing has grown? I've made some really decent progress on this, and I'm very happy about it. Again, I haven't been working on too many things, and it's been almost 2 weeks since I last podcasted, but I just had this project with me on the couch, ready to go all the time, and this is how I actually made progress on this. If I only ever worked on it when I didn't have a baby around and all of that, I would just never get this thing finished. And honestly, I'm kind of sick of it by now, but I'm also quite proud of it. I think when I joined it, I had over 500 stitches on the needles, and now I'm down to 200 and a bit. So now the rows are getting much shorter. Actually, I may need to find shorter needles actually, because while it used to be massive on these needles, now the needles are too long, which is exciting. I'm so close to finishing this sweater, and I couldn't be more happy about it. I'm not sure if you can get the whole picture, but I knit the 2 sleeves first, and then I knit the body, and now obviously I've joined it all together. I'm working on the decreases, and then there is a massive folded over neckline, which I'm not sure if I'm going to do it exactly like that, but I will worry about that when I get to it. I love it. I think it's going to be a very sort of epic sweater that I'll have forever and ever, but I'm also looking forward to the day that I don't have this on my needles anymore. I can't even imagine not having this on my needles anymore. So yeah, that's where we are with that. Very exciting. And then also, like I mentioned, we are doing the Happy Socks Cal, so of course I had to cast on a pair of socks. And the pair that I've cast on is actually something I've been planning for a while, so you may know that my most recent publication were the Smoky cable socks. And some of my testers used more sort of speckled yarn, whereas the one that I used was quite solid. And I was really surprised with how well the pattern came out with more colorful yarns. So I decided to do a faded version of the Smoky cable socks. So what I did is I had some 10-gram mini skeins left over from my Pixie Yarn advent calendar for last year. So I had a mini skein advent calendar, and I used about 10 grams of the minis for my blanket, just a little bit less than that. And so I just collected the leftovers and put them together in a sort of fadey order. And you may know that most faded projects, you kind of alternate the colors for a while, eventually to make them really faded. But I needed to find a way to knit these socks with a baby without having to weigh things and measure things and alternate and do too much yarn management. So what I did is I just divided both minis into two, both sets of minis I should say, and then I just balled them up. And so I'm essentially doing like a color block faded sort of pair of socks. And this is where we are. So it's a bit messy because once again I'm doing 2 at a time socks. But can you see, it started out with the green, and then we moved into this sort of turquoise speckled colorway, and I've now just moved into my third colorway, which is a bit more blue, and eventually we should end up with pink. So I'm really enjoying these. Again, these are the Smoky cable socks that I designed. I'm not making any changes to the pattern except that I'm just changing colors whenever I run out of one color. So I'm using up every last scrap of my yarn also, which feels really good. I love doing that. And I'm just going to knit these until I'm out of yarn, and then I will do afterthought heels, which are in the pattern anyways. So I have to pick a mini skein for the heels. I have one that I think might work, but then I'm also thinking maybe I want to do like a white, like some kind of natural, just to not even detract from the original sort of fadey colors. So I haven't decided yet about the heel, but I'm still a good way away from that. But yeah, I'm really enjoying them actually. This is a pattern that looks quite complicated, but really it is very easy. So I can just knit on these while I'm watching TV or something. I don't really have to think about them or look at the pattern. So yeah, there we are, faded smoky cable socks. And that, you guys, is the only thing that I'm currently knitting on. So the only yarn related thing that I can mention before we get into just general life chatter is what I'm actually wearing today. So I'm wearing one of my favorite, if not my most favorite sweaters that I have in my wardrobe. This is the Emma Yoke by Astrid Tüting, who goes by Knit for Passion, and she's actually from Munich, or around Munich, where I used to live. So I met her once, and hi if you're watching. Yeah, I love the sweater. First up, the yoke is really pretty, and it's one of the very few yoked sweaters that I've knit that has different charts for different sizes, which I think is very, very cool and size inclusive. Also, this yarn is a Danish yarn from Garnutsalg. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I'm sorry. Very, very affordable. It kind of feels like the host yarn when you get it, but it has turned so fluffy and soft. And I actually used the same yarn to knit my Otra sweater by Ascandir, and that hasn't done that, sadly. But I have quite a bit of this yarn in stash because I hope that one day I'll get a colorway of theirs again that just with wear and wash, it's like, this is so fluffy and light, and I absolutely love this. This is my favorite sort of finished yarn that I've ever worked with. So I wear the sweater all the time. It's a light sweater, so I can wear it around the house, I can wear it outside, and it's warm because it's a non-superwashed wool, but it's not heavy or it doesn't make me sweat or anything. So yeah, I just thought I should mention it because I love this sweater so, so, so much. In general, I used to do like sweater episodes where I talk about what garments I use most and what I learned about them and how they've worn. And I haven't done one in a while. I would like to eventually, so let me know if you're interested in that. It's often a matter of finding the time, honestly. I also wanted to kind of save the sweaters that my baby is wearing and talk about which knits have been useful and which ones haven't been and how they've held up. And the truth is, I tried to collect them for a while, but what I do is eventually I felt baby knits or kaidas, like they just go in the wash a lot, and I'm not super precious about them because they're meant to be worn, and he basically wears out of everything within seconds anyways. So I'm not going to have them lying around waiting to be hand washed. I am basically just throwing everything in the washing machine, and it works really well. And then eventually something gets felted, so I can't really show those to you anymore. If you're still interested in just me talking about some of the garments that he's been using, I'd be happy to do that. I know it would be much more pleasant to watch if I had pictures and videos and could show you all this stuff. But again, that comes down to editing time and just brain space, which I just don't have. But yeah, it's something that is on the back of my mind, so we'll see how it goes, and definitely let me know how you would like to see it, if you would like to see it, if that is something I should make time for. On the note of making time, once again, I know that I don't mention to answer everyone's comments and messages at the moment, and if I do, I tend to write pretty quick replies, but it is just the reality of my life right now. We are very, very busy. It's very busy keeping a tiny human alive, keeping myself alive, and I just want to then use the free time that I have for the most essential things and not on my phone necessarily. So I would just once again please ask you guys to understand and know that it is not personal at all. Alright, that is the sort of podcast and just knitting chatter, I guess, for this week. What else do I have to tell you about? Well, we had a really nice sort of springy couple of days when I last recorded, and then it suddenly turned cold again, which wasn't fun. But, sorry. But it is starting to really feel like spring now. You can probably see the sun coming into our house, which is just lovely. We've been spending so much time outside now, which is great. We're still in lockdown, but I think everyone is starting to feel a bit more optimistic while staying cautious. But it's just nice to kind of be able to go into spring and start thinking about summer, and just even with lockdown you can just spend more time outside, which is great. So that's mainly what we've been doing. I mean, what else would you do? I've also been spinning quite a bit, and I've been meaning to ask you guys, do you want to see spinning on the podcast? Because I used to show my spinning on the podcast, but I think most people who watch this don't spin, and then I can get quite nerdy about and technical about the things that I spin, which might not necessarily be interesting. But I also find it boring to just kind of hold up a scale and be like, this is what I've spun. So I haven't really talked about it on the podcast, so let me know if you're interested in that or not. Yeah, but I'm definitely trying to find time at my wheel, which, oh my god, I just love spinning so much. And after, I think, 3 or 4 months of waiting, I finally got the flyer of my wheel replaced. So you may or may not remember, I got a Ashford Kiwi 3 wheel in fall, and the flyer came rusty, which was really crappy, and it took a long while to get it fixed. But it finally has been replaced, so I am just spinning away now whenever I have time. I can't do it with the baby because, again, he would just within 2 seconds crawl into my wheel, and I don't want him to be hurting himself, and obviously it wouldn't really be the relaxing experience of spinning anyways. But that's what I've been doing a lot as well, which has been great. And you know what? I might actually do some cast-ons today. I just finished those socks yesterday, and I have a couple of things that I want to knit, including a Loki sweater, which really I should knit now because I need it now and I don't need it in May or something when it's warm outside. So I might do some casting on today if I get the time. And then I'm just hoping that this coming week will be a little bit less stressful than the week that just gone, because that was insane. Yeah, that's basically everything that I have to talk to you guys about today. And I feel like I'm kind of shouting against our neighbors' noises, so it's not really great recording anyways. So I think what I'll do is go back to my knitting, hang out with my family, and I will talk to you guys very soon. Until I see you again, happy knitting, stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you very soon. Bye bye!